When I began watching NBA basketball in the late 80s, I mainly viewed the power forward position as a player with a physical presence who plays defense, battles for rebounds while getting most of his points in the paint and near the hoop. During this decade, of course you had your talented power forwards, but in the 90s, the position really changed. A new breed of power forwards was entering the league. In the 90s and into the 2000s, there were numerous nights when power forwards rarely got a night off, as this would be the NBA golden age of power forwards. So for this video, I want to go over this new generation of power forwards. I'm not going to mention every power forward, and if you believe I should have mentioned someone, please mention it in the comments, as I just want to talk about power forwards who are very skilled offensively, where opposing teams really had a game plan for, and talk about power forwards who are very different from previous eras regarding their skills. In the mid-80s, power forwards Charles Barkley and Karl Malone were drafted. Then in the 90s, they wound up winning MVP awards. And during the decade of the 90s, these are the power forwards they had to go up against. And I'm going to start with the first overall selection in the 1988 NBA draft in Danny Manning. As a 6'10" Manning was a unique power forward at the time. Being an all-around player who could pass and handle the ball, Manning could run the floor with ease and showed great versatility. Then in the 1989 NBA draft, Shawn Kemp was drafted 17th overall, and Kemp was just a ridiculous athlete at 6'10". Kemp's unreal athleticism helped him become one of the best power forwards in the 90s. Then drafted first overall in the 1990 NBA draft was extremely talented Derek Coleman. Charles Barkley once thought Coleman could be the best player in the world. Then the top pick in 1991 was Larry Johnson, and at 6'7", Johnson had a unique combination of exceptional explosion and strength. It sucked that Johnson had back issues kind of early in his career, otherwise potentially he could have been a Hall of Fame player. Then in 1992, Tom Gugliotta came into the league, and Googs had athleticism at 6'10". He could really shoot and could also score in the post. Then in 1993, power forwards Chris Webber and Vin Baker were drafted first and 8th. Baker was a very quality scorer, someone you could throw the ball to and tell him to get a bucket. But as for Chris Webber, he had it all offensively. He was athletic, he had tremendous hands, had guard-like skills, perhaps the best passing power forward ever. Chris Webber was awesome, and I want to show you a quote that was said by Larry Bird during the Dream Team documentary regarding the talent of Chris Webber, as Bird was talking about that he's got to get out of the league if Chris Webber is coming into the NBA. But the talent at the forward position wouldn't stop with Webber. I'm going to go next in 1995, and a trio of extremely talented power forwards were coming into the NBA, and not one of them was first overall selection Joe Smith, who was pretty decent defensively, but instead, I'll begin with Antonio McDyess, who was drafted second overall, and he was super athletic. He moved and jumped differently, but also McDyess, he could really score in the post, and it sucked that McDyess, he had knee issues early in the 2000s, which contributed to his decrease in athleticism and production. Selected fourth overall was Rasheed Wallace, who was basically unguardable when he got the ball in the post with his long arms. Furthermore, Wallace, he could also be deadly from the three-point line. Then drafted fifth was Kevin Garnett. Now there's so much to say about Garnett, but to simply put it, an argument could be made that he's the greatest power forward ever. Then in 1996, three names I want to mention: Sharif Abdur-Rahim, who was selected third overall, and I want to mention Abdur-Rahim because he was such an outstanding scorer. Then drafted sixth overall was Antoine Walker, and I'm going to spend the most time talking about the 6'9" Walker because his game was so different than any other power forwards from the past. While with the Celtics, mainly when Jim O'Brien was the coach, Walker was essentially a point power forward. He had the ball in his hands so much. Furthermore, Walker, he once led the NBA in three-point attempts for 3 consecutive seasons, and his most common move was a shot fake then drive left. Then drafted 17th in the 1996 NBA draft was high schooler Jermaine O'Neal, who would become such an impactful player for the Pacers in the 2000s. In 1997, Tim Duncan, he was drafted first overall. I don't think Duncan had as good as offensive skills as Kevin Garnett, but likewise to Garnett, I'll just say, an argument can be made that Duncan is the greatest power forward ever. Then in 1998, drafted 9th overall was Dirk Nowitzki, and the 14-time All-Star just had the unreal ability to shoot and score at 7 feet tall. Arguably, Nowitzki is the greatest scoring power forward of all time. And lastly, in 1999, worth mentioning is Elton Brand, who was drafted first overall. Now, Brand, he wasn't as talented offensively as the other names I previously mentioned, but Brand, he became a 2010 player. But someone who was extremely talented offensively was Lamar Odom, who had the unique fluidity and guard-like skills at 6'10". But it seemed like Odom never lived up to his immense talent, but he was so talented. Alright, so worth mentioning, here are some other power forwards to become NBA All-Stars, mainly because of their offense, and they were drafted in the 90s. These players include Christian Laettner, Juwan Howard, Antoine Jameson, and I want to mention Keith Van Horn, who never became an All-Star, but he could score. He averaged over 21 points a game one season, and he could really shoot from the outside. And then I want to mention that you had some power forwards who became All-Stars in the 90s, mainly due to their defense and rebounding. But interestingly, these players would wind up being power forwards on true title contending teams, and these players included Horace Grant, Charles Oakley, Dennis Rodman, Antonio Davis, Dale Davis, and Tyrone Hill. And of course, if I left anyone out, like Kevin Willis, please comment below and tell me what you think about this new era of power forwards. Thank you so much. I appreciate all the support, and thank you so much for checking out this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe.